What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Saturday night episode here live on Darknight Radio on the lovely Beyond the Light Network. Mr. Justin had a date tonight, so unfortunately Justin won't be joining us yet again on the radio this evening. But without further ado, tonight, of course, I have basically two co-hosts of the show, Miss Lauren Scamardo and Sherika as well, that will be assisting with our amazing Saturday night episode here on Darknight Radio. And of course, we have the one and only Mr. Bill Bean. Definitely welcome him to the show for the first time.
Welcome.
And so, Bill Bean, if you would just kind of tell everybody like what got you started in the field and how it all came about.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. And for those who haven't heard my story, I've given so many interviews. I'd say probably, well over 2,000 interviews. But I'll say, again, that, this all began, I didn't choose to get into this type of thing. God chose me, number one, to help people, and I'm thankful for that. But, I started out as a victim, and my family was destroyed by demonic forces, and I was nearly destroyed as well. And I've written 4 books, and in the first book, which is called Dark Force, I talk about how this all started, and it began in a bedroom ranch-style home located in Glen Burnie, Maryland, in a community called Arendelle. And I say that in the book, but it actually goes much further back. I found out additional information that there were family members many, many, many years ago who actually conjured up these demonic forces. And so they came upon the family. Also, I were led to that place in Glen Burnie, Maryland, where evil was already present and manifest. And so that's why it was so severe against my family. Is because you had the original demons that were conjured up by those family members. I didn't know them. My mother probably didn't know them either. It's many, many years ago. And so you had the original demonic forces that were conjured up, which I believe led us to that house in the area where evil was already present and manifest. So I was 4 years old when we moved there. My first recollections of that house were frightening. It was semi-dilapidated. My father, William Sr., was a master carpenter, saw it as a restoration project. My mother, Patricia, was a homemaker. And he did quite a bit of work to it, over the coming months and probably the first year or a couple of years in restoring it. But my first recollections at the age of 4, again, were very frightening because the house had a very ominous and foreboding look and feel about it. It was located at the bottom of a downhill cul-de-sac, very large and deep ravine behind it. And there were many aspects to this story. And, again, my family literally was destroyed by these demonic forces, and I was nearly destroyed as well. And we suffered some pretty horrific things during that time period of living in the house. And, I recall walking in, and it always, it had that ominous look and feel about it from the outside, but equally so inside. It had dark brown paneling on the walls, and the house just felt very heavy. When demons are present, there's an atmospheric change, and things become very heavy. The air becomes heavy. Sometimes people's ears start ringing. It's all due to atmospheric pressure. And so that's what was taking place in there. And the house was very dark, even on the brightest of days. It was very dark because the walls had this dark brown paneling on it. You would walk in through the front door into the living room, and you would walk through the living room, make a right, and go down a very long hallway, which the bedrooms and the bathroom were located down that hallway. So my brother and I shared the first room on the right. Yeah. My parents' bedroom was the second room on the right. My sister's room was the last room on the left across the hallway. And that's the room that I believe was the major portal in the home. That's the room where the door would open and slam for many repetitions at a time. That's also the room that was just ice cold. Even on the hottest of summer days, that room was cold. So my sister was the first to have a physical encounter. My mother was the first to have an actual supernatural experience in the house, and it took place not long after moving in. And my dad had taken us, and again, I have an older sister and a younger brother, and he had taken us with him for the day to his parents, my grandparents' house. So we'd be out of my mother's way, so she was able to unpack and organize without us bothering her. And it was during the course of this that she felt a presence come in. She was in the living room, and she felt a presence come into the room, and she thought that it was my dad sneaking in to play a joke on her, and she spun around fully anticipating on seeing him. And to her shock, nothing was there, when she spun around. So she was unnerved, perplexed, taken aback, very, very alarmed, and frightened as well. And so she needed a few moments to collect herself, and wasn't long after that my sister's bedroom door slammed shut by itself, and that was enough to make her go outside and wait until we returned. So that's where it started. It began in that way, and then gradually escalated into violent physical attacks on us from these demonic entities. And I do not say it lightly that they had a major hand in the destruction of my family. Neither of my parents lived to see the age of 50, and many other family members died tragically and suddenly and mysteriously.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, I got chills just from hearing your story, and we as well, being paranormal investigators like we are, I would say we've definitely come into contact with a demonic being a couple of times. It really perturbs me the most when it has to do with children being affected by spirits or demonic presences. They seem to feed off of them as bad as the sounds. So what is outside of your personal experiences, what is the most memorable case that you can recall that you took on in your line of work?
Yeah, there's so many that and again, I've said this a million times before as well. I could not be where I'm at right now had I not been there. So it was a necessary part of the journey. God had this plan for me before I ever even came into this world, and the devil was trying to stop it. And I've been in many life-threatening situations over the years because the devil was trying to stop me to get from where I am right now. God working through me to help these people, and I've helped people in 40 different countries around the world. Have traveled around this country several times over, probably many times over now, and have helped hundreds of people. So, you say the most disturbing, many come to mind, and one that stands out to me took place recently, this past October 27th, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
And it was it was one of the more disturbing cases, that's for sure. Upper Midwest family, very nice people, wonderful people, located in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and they were having some serious problems. And what it was is, and the most common thread in all of these cases is some sort of trauma that takes place, and in a lot of these cases, unfortunately, that is child molestation or some type of rape or violent crime or something that causes a high level of trauma. So when the high level of trauma is reached, not only are the demons in, on, and around the perpetrator, but then they come on to the victim because of the high level of trauma that is reached. And what happens is, through the adrenal glands and the pineal gland, secretions will come out when high levels of trauma are initiated on someone.
Yeah.
And those demons are attracted to those secretions like candy, and they will stay on the person until someone like me comes along. And it's God's power. I'm nothing special. It's God's power. It's not my power. It's God's power that works through me to free these people, and I thank God, praise God for it. But there are so many people in need. My case file, my case load has increased dramatically.
Yeah.
Over the last year and a half. It's just amazing of how the amount of people that are in need, and people from all walks of life. You'd be shocked at some of the high-profile people that have contacted me for help. It's just absolutely amazing. And no one, is exempt from this. And it's the greatest feeling in the world to, A, know what your purpose in life is, and B, for God to truly work through you to help people to be free from this and move forward. But, back to the case that I mentioned, this poor, unfortunate lady was totally taken over under total demonic possession. And I arrived at the home probably somewhere around 5:45 p.m. And when the husband opened the door, he was just absolutely terrified. He had never experienced anything like this, and he was being physically attacked from her. And so he opened the door, and she was about 20 feet in the living room behind him. And her eyes were all red. I've seen people's eyes go all white. I've seen them go all black. One time, a lady at San Diego, her eyes went like a yellowish green with reptilian slits in her pupa. I've seen it all, and this lady's eyes went totally red, and she was hissing at me when he opened the door. She was growling and hissing. And so usually I have a way of going about things.
Yeah.
It's not a cookie cutter way, because God prepares me a little differently for each individual depending on what the circumstance is, but it is cookie cutter in the way that some of the prayers I say, and the first thing that I do is I say a land blessing prayer. Then I enter into the home and say several more prayers there. Well, all of this is out the window because, this man opened the door and this woman's under full demonic possession at that point. So all that's out the window, and I advanced in. So, part of my calling, a large part, is that I can't have any fear. I don't have any fear. I can't, because if I show any type of fear, I'm finished. The people that I'm helping are finished. It'll be a disaster.
Yeah.
So I have to walk in what I call warrior mode, with courage, and I cannot deviate or waver from that for 1 second. So I advanced in, and she was retreating as I was advancing in, and she was a glass in her left hand, sort of like a jealous-looking thing, and she had a photograph in the glass, and she also had, I believe it was a necklace or something. That, to make the long story short, this began when one of her tormentors in childhood had passed on. And when that person passed on, she was given a necklace, and that necklace, which was a cursed object, came into that home, and those demons attached to that activated the demons that were already, in on from trauma and horrific, just off the charts. The lady endured as a child, so activated, and this poor woman was taken over by many demons. And so as I advanced in, she was retreating, and I finally backed her up to a corner against the wall in the dining room area, and then she charged out and tried to hit me with a glass and spit on me, tried to bite me, and was saying unimaginable things, and you can't have her, she's ours, blank, 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 she's you'll never get her, and she's ours, and all these types of things. And it became a physical struggle at that point, because I had to block her. She tried to hit me with a glass, I blocked that, and then was spitting and biting, growling, you name it, and I actually had to take her to the ground subdue her. For opposition, they have superhuman strength, and God for providing me with the strength to subdue her while I was performing this exorcism deliverance on her. And this lasted for quite a while, and the initial struggle took place for over 20 minutes. And now think about that. That is a tremendously long time to engage in a physical struggle.
Yeah.
Usually a physical struggle, if it's some kind of fight, and I've been in many of those as well, I'm sorry to say, in a different period of my life. Usually those things are over with within minutes. So when you're engaged in, a physical struggle for this length of time, it's absolutely exhausting.
Right.
And so I continued in this and performing this deliverance and exorcism over this woman, and I knew that it was just the first round. Peace had come over her at one point. I knew that it wasn't over with because this lady had many demons in her. So while they were, and I say the power of God worked through me to literally wear them out for a minute, while it was quiet, I got her back to her feet. She was crying. She was just a basket case, and my next step was to get her into she and her husband had a large bathroom with a large shower and soaker tub. And my next step was to get her into that shower to further perform the exorcism deliverance and prepare for baptism for her. In a lot of these cases, I baptized or rebaptized the people because this is the final part of the blessing and purification process. Yeah. And so, God works through me to clean these people out from the inside out. And then the final step is to cleanse them from the outside. And then they become blessed, sealed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before God. And so that's the final piece of the puzzle. But, as I was getting her into the shower area, they reactivated and it became a physical struggle again. Anything, spitting, trying to bite me, anything and everything to keep me from getting her under that water in the shower. And so, it's the same type of struggle again, but all these different voices. So now, all these, as I'm binding and casting out all these demons, they are coming individually now in different voices, different personas, and as they're coming, I have to bind and cast them out. I call on God, Yahweh. His name's listed 6,823 times in the Bible, replaced with the title of Lord. You see Lord and Catholic. Jesus' Hebrew name is Yahshua, which means Yahweh saves. A lot of people don't know that. So I use God's mighty and holy name. So I'm saying, Brother Mighty Yahweh, in the mighty and holy name of Jesus' name, I bind and rebuke you foul demons and command you to depart. So as I'm binding and casting them out, then I'm asking God to send his giant warrior angels to come and take them into custody, those demons that are being cast out into custody. And I ask God to have those angels carry them off and deposit them back into the pits of hell where they belong. So this is very much a process. And so again, it became quite a struggle in there. And as I was casting out demon after demon, then it became another physical struggle to get her out of there, out of the shower area, and into that soaker tub, because I knew once I got her there, it would be the beginning of the end. And so it was a struggle to get her in there, and then once I did, I started talking to her, and I said, look, I know you're in, and I know you want to be free from this. God is doing his part. I'm doing my part as an agent for God, and I have to do my part. You need to just be with me now and start to fight. We don't want this in, on, or around you anymore. And the more I said that, the more you could feel the grip of the devil and his demons loosening on this woman. Yeah. And so, again, demon after demon manifested, and each and every time they had to be bound and cast out by the mighty power of Yahweh in Jesus' name. And so finally, to make, again, a very long story short, once we had every demon cast out, then I quickly went into the baptism process and fully immersed her in the water, and she came back up. Just when these things happen in demonic possession, when the demons finally leave a person, you can see, and for me, I can feel how they let a person go. It's as if, just think about somebody having a hold of your collar, and they've got you up against the wall. They're trying to lift you off of your feet, so you're on your tiptoes against the wall because somebody's grabbing your collar. They're grabbing you up. And that's exactly what it is. And they let go. When they let go, the person just slumps. And then they start to cry. And so that's exactly what had taken place there. I knew she was free. And then after, fully immersing her and bringing her back up, that was the end of it. She was blessed, healed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before God. And I'm happy to say that her and her husband are doing very well now. God bless them. May they never, ever have any kind of disturbance ever again. They're wonderful people. And it was such a great feeling to know that God worked for me to help that woman who was suffering so greatly for so long.
Wow. That would be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, and again, I was soaked. I was in a suit. I was soaked, but I didn't care about that. And then I was exhausted afterwards because when these things take place, especially when you're talking about a lengthy physical struggle, it's very exhausting. And so, but you don't even think about that kind of stuff because you're just so thankful. For me, I was so thankful that God worked through me to help her and to free her. It was just, and then after that, I have to go. Even though you're exhausted, it's not over because after that, I have to go through the entire house, and I have to make sure that there are no demons lurking anywhere or hiding anywhere. So I start right at the front door, and it was a large home, and I had to go through every bit of that home. To make sure that nothing was hiding or lurking, and then I had to bless everything. So again, when I left there, not only was the victim delivered and blessed, but every bit of that home and her husband as well, everything was blessed. So I left them very, very well, and again, I praise God for it. I'm very thankful that God called me to do this. I had no intention of ever doing this kind of work, no thought of it at all. But God put such a strong calling all my life, and that was after I was finally totally free from everything. And I decided to make God first in my life. And I started quite a bit of studies. And this calling, God put on my life was something that I very much didn't want. I ignored it for quite a period of time until finally I couldn't ignore it anymore, and I felt that as my wisdom and knowledge grew, I felt that I had confidence in the possibility of maybe being the man that God wanted me to be. And in the beginning, I thought, you have to be mistaken. You can't possibly be calling me to do anything. What can I do for anybody? And that was in the beginning. But then, again, as I continued in these studies, and then I became an ordained minister, then I had the confidence to be able to do this, and I understood why God was calling me to do it. And it goes right back to what I said earlier. It was necessary for me to have all those horrific experiences in life in order to be where I am right now, because people can relate to me. When I go into their homes, they know that I've been there, so they can trust me. And when people suffer serious trauma like that, they don't trust others so easily.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. Now, another question. I'll let Sherika go ahead and ask it.
Okay, and this is something that, please don't take offense. I don't mean anything by it. It's just a debate. I grew up in a Christian-based home, and me and my parents don't really see eye to eye on this. So as a more of an expert in that area, do you feel that people that believe in God and that are Christian-based or religious-based can be attacked demonically as well?
Absolutely. And hi, Sherika. I didn't get a chance to say hi to you, and that's a great question. And absolutely, because I have been flown to churches, several churches around this country that have been under demonic attack. The pastors, the family, their wives, the children, the families, the congregation. So I have been brought in to several churches around the country to perform exorcisms and deliverances, on the pastor and the families and the congregation and the churches. I mean, one church I could think of right off the top of my head, well, I can think of several, but one time I was in this church in Hazard, Kentucky, and it was on a mountain in Kentucky, and it was snow and ice, and God got me there, and those people were in real need. I mean, they were suffering real attacks, and after I helped the pastor and his family, then the people lined up down the aisle, just one deliverance after the other. It's just amazing. I was, talk about exhausted, I was just totally exhausted after that, because so many people, were in such need. So to answer your question, absolutely correct, that people can walk around and claim to be this and claim to be that. And look, I'm a Christian, but I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I try to do the best that I can do, and I try to be the best that I can be each and every day, but I'm a human being. I still fall short. So I wouldn't dare go around saying how great I am or how perfect I am. But there are people out there that have that attitude, and it's mind-boggling, because that is where the saying "pride before the fall" comes in, and it's scripture-based as well. But when you have that type of attitude, believe me, no one is exempt from these types of things. And if something happens in some sort of negative, adverse, traumatic way, or furthermore, something happens where these things were invoked in some way, knowingly or unknowingly, willingly or unwillingly, it's going to come in. And I don't care who you are. Right. It is going to happen. So this is why it is so important for people to stay in what I call warrior mode, which is that faith, strength, and courage. And, in my new book, The Connection, I talk about that a lot. At the beginning of the book, it's a synopsis of how my life was and where my life is now. And then, after mid-book, it becomes really a guide. It's a guidebook and steps to take in order to... nobody will ever be perfect, and nobody will ever have a perfect life, but I can tell you this, I wouldn't trade my life with anybody, because my life is very good and very blessed, and I'm very thankful to God for the calling that He's put on my life. But we still have to walk in that faith, strength, and courage in order to be free from evil, because all life is based and operates on frequency and vibration. Mm-hmm. All life. And so, if that's the case, which I know it is, the devil wants us to be on low, which is low frequency, low vibration. He dwells, and his demons dwell in the low frequencies. And so, what will put a person on low? It could be anything from depression or things that I mentioned earlier, whether it's molestation, rape, some type of trauma, anger issues, just having a negative attitude in general, and or like growing up on the streets and having bad circumstances, and that carries over into a lack of faith, and then a person just kind of doing their own thing. Or drugs, alcohol, pornography, any of these types of things can really open the door for these demonic forces to come in. Right. And so, again, we must be mindful of it. We'll never be perfect, but we have to take the necessary steps in order to keep the devil under our feet and keep our frequency on high. So when we're on high vibration, high frequency, high vibration, life is good, life is positive, and we are moving forward. And that's what God wants for us. But low frequency, low vibration, life sucks, and life is a challenge. There's always a situation, a problem, a black cloud over someone's head, and nothing ever goes right, and there's never a solution.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of the way I looked at it, too. I mean, no matter where you are at in your life, you have free will. And by free will, you can invite or allow bad or evil or demonic in without really even realizing it. And that's how I've always viewed it. And that was just You know, like I said, it was a debate that I've had growing up, and I just, even though, you know, my dad was a pastor and I was raised in it, I still kind of stood on my own and questioned. I'm not one to just automatically believe because somebody tells me. I just, you know.
Hey, good for you, because we all, by having free will, you know, we're all free to do whatever we want to do and make our own choices. That's a gift from God. Furthermore, God works a miracle for us each and every day when we open our eyes, the gift of life. So that is a gift from God. Free will is a gift from God. However, there's a consequence for free will. So for me, and I put this in the book, The Connection, there are 10 steps in there. 10 steps. If you follow these 10 steps, this is a great way to keep the devil out. And so step 1 is making God first. Step 2 is following the path and the teachings of Jesus, Yeshua, Jesus the Christ. Step 3 is building your faith. Step 4 is forgiving. It's very important to forgive. Jesus said this many, many times, that, you know, forgiveness is every bit as much for us as it is for the person that we're forgiving, because if we hold on and harbor hatred and ill will towards others, it's a spiritual poisoning. It really is. So it's very important to forgive and to let go. It doesn't mean you have to go back to that person or with that person and you know, be buddy or whatever it is, you know, but you are forgiving them, and then you just you're free from that, because when you're stuck in that kind of thing, that person has power over you when you're hating someone like that, unforgiving. So forgiveness is huge. And so step 5 is finding your purpose in life. And I just talked about how it was the greatest thing for me when I started on this path, and I knew for the very first time that this was actually what God had called me to do. Wonderful feeling in knowing what your purpose in life is. So step 6 is the power of positive thinking. It is very important, because in my life, and it certainly stemmed from my childhood and suffering all those unimaginable horrors, I was in that fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking, and then it got over, you know, as I became a young man, to where I was, you know, in that type of thinking and thinking in the negative. So I could remember days where I would wake up and declare that I was going to have a terrible day. And guess what? I did, because I invoked that. So it is very important for us to know that when God spoke the world into existence, which I believe he did, there's more to the story. Maybe we'll talk about that another show, another time. But when he created us, he left a little piece of himself inside of each and every one of us. So we too have the power of speaking things into existence by the power of God that's within us. So we have to be very careful in what we speak into existence. And when we're, you know, in that fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking, and then we make declarations like I used to make, that I was going to have a bad day, well, yes, and that would carry right over, because I invoked it to be so, and it was so. And when you get into that mindset and that way of living and thinking, again, that's low frequency, low vibration, and it's like the black cloud is over a person's head. So the power of positive thinking it was certainly life-changing for me. So now in my life, I say, and oftentimes I'm up till 4 or 5 a.m. every morning answering messages to people from all over the world. It hasn't changed. It's been that way for years now. No matter how tired I am, I say 2 prayers before I go to bed. One is a spiritual warfare prayer. I say it every night. For those who would like to see these prayers or even get a copy, visit my website, billbean.net, and you'll see under Powerful Prayers. Click on that, and you can copy and paste and print those prayers out and say them every day for yourself. So the first is a spiritual warfare prayer, and the second is a daily declaration of victory. I declare victory in each and every day of my life. I refuse to lose, and I have gone from victim to victor. And I did this by the power of God. And so if God is with us and for us, nothing can stand against us. Yep. So that's where the warrior mode comes in, the faith, strength, and courage. That is all part of the power of positive thinking. Then step 7 is setting goals. It's very important to set goals, because if you believe it, and you actually see it as something that you really, really want, then you will achieve that. If you work hard enough for it, you will achieve it. Step 8 is being giving to others. For me, it's much better in my life that I just enjoy giving to people. I love giving to people. I have a hard time receiving because I'm so used to giving to everybody. So I have great joy out of doing things and giving to others. And step 9 is being grateful for everything, and I am. I let God know each and every day and every opportunity that I get, even if I'm doing interviews or whatever it may be. I can never thank God and praise God enough for what He's done for me, and I can never thank Him and praise Him enough for what He's done, for what He's doing, and for what He's going to do for me in my life. So I'm very, very thankful and grateful for everything. And then step 10 is that warrior mode. If you are really applying and achieving the other 9 steps, then when you get to 10, you're going to be in that warrior mode, which is faith, strength, and courage, and it's an unbeatable combination, and I highly recommend it. It is life-changing. It's not rocket science, but I guarantee you this: God made tremendous changes in my life when I decided to make Him first, and when I really, truly applied these steps to my life. It was, what a transformation and life-altering, and I'm so thankful to God for this. So if He would do this for me, He'll do it for anyone that calls on Him and really wants to change their life in this way.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with you 110% on that one. He does work in very amazing ways. We actually do have a question from the chat for you, Bill. Luna in the chat wants to know, have you ever encountered anything with haunted objects?
I have. God has worked through me to cast demons out of people, places, and things. And, Scripture tells us, do not bring a cursed object into your home lest you be cursed like it. So there are cursed objects out there. There are objects that are demon-filled. And so this is another thing that I'm very, very careful with in my daily life. Whatever I bring into my home, I don't care what it is, I pray for that. And I bind and rebuke anything evil or negative that may be attached to it. I don't care if it's something that's brand new. And I bind and rebuke it and cast it out and ask God to have His giant warrior angels come and carry that garbage off and deposit it back into the pits of hell. And then I declare the object or objects to be blessed, healed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before God. This is my life. It might sound radical to some people, but that's how I live my life, because we can't leave anything to chance. There are objects out there that truly are demon-filled and cursed. I can remember right off the top of my head several people that came to me for help that had acquired an object or an antique or brought something into their home or on their person, whether it be a watch or a ring, and there was something going on with that object, and there was evil negativity attached to it, and it was affecting that person. So I had to not only perform a deliverance over the person, but then, do a binding and casting out of whatever it was off of the object. And then after that, I recommend that the person get rid of it after that. So whether that is and once a lot of people say, oh, don't burn, just something like that. But once the binding and a casting out takes place on that object, those demons are no longer on the object. They're gone because God has intervened and His angels have come and taken those things away. Yeah. But I still recommend destroying the object, whether that's through fire or some people want to bury it or whatever. I would just say, look, get rid of it, burn the thing, do whatever you got to do to get busted up, whatever it is. Get rid of it, because you don't want somebody else getting hold of that. And so the entities and the negativity is taken off of it, who knows? If the person gets hold of it and they have something going on in their life that's in a negative, adverse way, it certainly could open the doorway for a draw to come back and to come back onto that and that person.
Yeah, definitely. I got a question for you as well. Do you feel as though with us being paranormal investigators in the field such as we are, do you feel like we open ourselves up more to demonic attacks or being affected by demonic beings?
It's possible. It's certainly possible, and that's why it's so important for anyone who's doing that type of work to keep God first, say prayers of protection before entering into something like that. It is very important to be in that warrior mode, because otherwise, if something happens in there, and then the person is in a fear state, and then maybe a trauma state, well, then you're opened up and in grave danger for these demonic forces to come and literally create a variety of torments and problems. I've helped so many people, God working through me, all over the world, different people in different parts of the world, especially in our country, are investigators, and they have found themselves in some very bad positions and situations because they went in and something actually did attach to them.
Yeah, there's...
100%.
I can honestly say that I know without a shadow of a doubt there has been a few occasions where I, not willingly, but I know I've had attachments in the past, most recently, and Sherika can vouch for this, and I try to protect myself with prayers and such the best I can. But most recently, we actually done an investigation at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But we actually done an investigation there. And at one point during the investigation, Sherika said my eyes turned completely black. Like the whites of my eyes and all turned completely black when we were on the 4th floor of Waverly Hills. And
Not good, my brother. Not good.
And I felt like I still felt that for at least a week or two, and I know several other members of our Darknight crew did as well. We felt the after effects of that investigation for at least a week or two, even after we left, until I was finally able to push whatever was waiting for me.
Praise God for that. You just always have to keep in mind what is the purpose over and over and over again. If your purpose is to try and help others, fine. But if you're make sure that it's a calling from God, because if you're going on your own accord, you are wide open for some bad things to happen. And for places like that, Waverly Hills and all, I'm not an investigator. I don't go to those places. I have no interest, because I know, I've seen firsthand, I've lived it. I understand and know what the devil can do. And I also know what God can do. So therefore, I don't need any verification of anything. But just be super careful when you're going into those types of places, because the devil is he's got demons there just lying in wait. And even in my life as a minister, I have people that's like that. Then they would go right back again, and then of course it would come back, because I could stay there all day long, God working through me to cast demons out of a person. But if they go back to doing what created them in the first place, the devil has a fresh batch of demons waiting there to come. And so it is a never-ending process. That's why it's very important for people to understand this and to refrain from doing things that brought the problem in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you 110% on that.
And so, just be very careful, all of you.
Yeah. Have you been into like paranormal investigators' homes that got demonically affected, or that brought attachments home with them and had to do cleansings on them and such?
Many times, all country, many times. And I've also been at events, when I'm not going and people, which that's the majority of my, let's go is I'm on a plane somewhere or traveling to somebody. But there are times in between not as much here recently, but in the past, to where I would make these appearances at different events, and people would seek me out at those types of events because they were under some type of demonic attack, and investigators and I would perform these deliverances over them. And a lot of psychics as well have approached me, for help. They too, come under this type of attachment and torment and attack. So, yes, I've dealt with a lot of people like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that people don't realize. They see what we do in our live feeds and things like that, but they don't realize the dangers that we run and that we're involved in anytime we step into a location, whether it be a private residence or a bigger or business location. There's always that chance that we can bring an attachment home with us, or one of us can get negatively affected by one of the entities that reside there. And like you said on many occasions, and I know you've done several exorcisms yourself, and there's several cases where I'll leave an investigation for me personally, and I'll be drained. The entity drained the spirit or entity, whatever you may call it, drain the energy from me. And I know I'm not the only one of us investigators out there. I know all of our Darknight crew has been affected in some form. And it's this field is very tiring. After a while, you become physically and mentally drained.
Well, there's a lot more to the story than we could cover now, but maybe the next time we'll get into some of the things as to reasons why this is all increased and what's really taking place to usher in this, because the devil's in the details always, and it is through technological advances that we are opening the door wider and wider for more demons to come on the earth, and it is through devices like CERN and D-Wave computers and things of that nature that are having a negative adverse effect in and on our world. Most people don't realize this, but it requires prayer first and then study. And, my mind is always a sponge. I seek knowledge because God says my people are destroyed for knowledge. So it's very important to yourself with knowledge. And once you truly have an understanding what's really taking place here and why, it'll crystal clear to you as to why so many people are under attack these days, and it's only going to increase until God finally has enough of this and really lowers the boom. But until that time comes, be prepared, because we're in a time now like no other. There's a reason for everything, and these things too shall pass. They're going to pass, but right now we're in it. We're in the things that are here. There are more things that are coming, and this is why it is so important to stay in this faith, strength, and courage in this warrior mode, because if we do, God will have favor on us. Favor like he had on David. Favor like he had on Daniel in the lion's den. This is what God does for me. This is what he's done for me. This is what he'll continue to do for me. So if he would do it for me, he'll do it for anyone who makes him first. And look, I know we're running out of time. I want to thank you guys so much for having to believe it went that fast. For anybody out there that might be having problems, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm very busy, but I'm never too busy to help somebody. My website is billbean.net. And if I don't get back to you, my assistant Melinda will get back to you. And if you'd like to get copies of my new book, The Connection, you can also get them there at billbean.net. I want to thank you guys so much for having me on, and God bless all of you. And I look forward to the next time. Thank everybody out there for listening.
Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's been
taking out of your time to come on here.
It's been an exciting show.
The next time I come back, I've got some mind-blowing information for you guys, for sure.
All right.
Oh, awesome.
Look forward.
Can't wait.
All right. Well,
okay, guys. God bless all of you, and have a great night, and we will talk soon.
You have a good night also.
You as well. Good night, sir.
Night.
Alright guys, so looks like Mr. Bean, it was for a 1 hour show. Looks like he had to pop off, get to his busy schedule.
Yeah, and so everybody definitely go check out Mr. Bill Bean, BillBean.net.
Awesome guy.
If you want to learn more about him, he's a very knowledgeable individual in this field. He's been doing it for quite some time, and I truly believe, as he does, it's his gift. And sorry, Luna, we wasn't able to get your question out in time. There was only an hour. There was only an hour of time he was able to spare, which is understandable. He's a very busy man, but we'll definitely bring him back on. And I will write your question down as well for the future when we bring him on, Luna. But I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the evening. Before we do, I'm gonna let Miss Sherika do the rundown of the chatters this evening, since Mr. Justin McGuire missed out on this lovely episode with Mr. Bill Bean.
Well, basically, guys, tonight, I mean, it was pretty quiet in chat tonight. Not a whole
Short
lot
and simple.
of people, but there was a couple of other, I know 2 or 3 other groups that were live. So, but we had Miss Kim was in there for a little bit. Luna was in there. Erin came in, and then of course me and Dwayne in the chat. So not a whole lot, but still thank you guys for your support and tuning in and joining us tonight. Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Lauren?
I don't know if we mentioned on here about how we hit the 7K likes.
We did.
And I know for me, I want to thank everybody for supporting us and helping us get to that point. We're trying to make it to 10K so we can get there. If we can get to 7K this fast, we got this. So it's amazing.
Oh yeah,
so we love you guys.
Definitely. I would have never thought we'd hit 7,000 likes on the Facebook page.
It's like we just started. I remember we started it was like 1K and we were excited. And It's amazing how fast it's gone. So thank you guys very much for listening to our shows and they're watching our live feeds and sharing our videos, and it's amazing.
And of course our live feed that hit 11K views. That was awesome.
One of our other videos I think was the same. The cemetery was like 3K, almost 3K, and it's awesome.
So our views on our live feeds are definitely steadily increasing and holding there. So that's amazing as well. Don't forget about our raffle that we have going on right now, guys. It's $5 a ticket.
And we have T-shirts and all that too.
It's going to be three items of DPS merchandise and a book that Miss Sheila was in chat with us as well for a little bit.
It's a good deal to win, guys.
It'll have 3 pieces of our merchandise plus a book that Miss Sheila wrote. She's going to sign and autograph it for you guys as well. We have to get 15 tickets sold, though, to be able to have a successful raffle. So
someone can win, what is it, $75 worth of stuff?
It's $75 of DPS merchandise plus Miss Sheila's book.
So you guys, if we get 15 people and each person puts $5 in, you can win $75 worth of stuff for $5. So it goes to a good cause for us to help us out, and you guys get free merchant. I mean, you guys get a good deal of merchandise, so it helps everybody. So come on, guys, it's a good deal.
Buy tickets, have your family, friends, share it.
Yeah. And then if you're the one, then our chance to get it. So.
Oh yeah, definitely check out our raffle. We're giving away $75 worth of merchandise, and it only costs $5 a ticket to enter. So I mean, if you bought 4 tickets, that's 4 chances to win, and you're still saving $55, and that's not even including the book that Miss Sheila's going to be donating to the cause. Good deal. But in that aspect, everybody, this coming Friday night, we welcome Mr. Dan Class to Darknight Radio for the first time. Biddy Space's own with this Hinsdale house. Definitely look forward to chatting with Mr. Dan Class. So everybody, join us back here this coming Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time as we welcome Dan Class to Darknight Radio. Until next Friday night, everyone, this is Darknight Radio signing off. We love you all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Love and light to you all. Stay blessed out there.
Night, everyone.
Good night, guys. Be safe. Have a good night.
What? Oh, sorry.